They dragged him out of the car on a live stream and didn't realize millions were already watching. The door was yanked open so fast it slammed against the hinge, and before Marcus could even turn his head fully, a hand grabbed his arm and pulled him out onto the cold pavement. His phone slipped from the dashboard but didn't fall far, still angled just enough to capture everything. Still recording, still live. "Get out, now," the officer shouted, his voice sharp and loud enough to cut through the night. Marcus didn't resist. His hands came up slowly, controlled, visible. The streetlights reflected off the hood of his car, and the flashing red and blue lights painted the entire scene in chaos. But his movements stayed calm, measured, deliberate, face down. Another officer yelled. Marcus lowered himself to the ground, the rough surface pressing against his palms, his cheek turning slightly to the side. He could hear footsteps moving around him, quick, heavy, like they were responding to something urgent, something dangerous. But there was nothing dangerous there. Nothing except assumption. "What's in the car?" one officer demanded. "Nothing illegal," Marcus replied, his voice steady even with the pressure of a knee pressing into his back. "Don't move." "I'm not moving." The phone on the dashboard continued streaming. Comments were already starting to flood in, usernames stacking over each other. Reactions building faster than anyone on that street could see. The officer near the car leaned in, scanning the interior quickly, then more aggressively, opening compartments, pulling at things that didn't need to be pulled. "Sir, step back," Marcus said calmly, not lifting his head, not changing his tone. The officer ignored him, because in their minds, this moment was already decided. "Dispatch, we have a suspect matching description." One of them spoke into the radio. Marcus closed his eyes for a second. Same words, same pattern, same shortcut. "What description?" he asked. No answer. Just movement. Just control. Just force, without clarity. The phone camera captured everything. The angle wasn't perfect, but it didn't need to be. The voices were clear, the commands sharp, the behavior visible. And online, people were watching. At first it was just a few hundred viewers. Then a few thousand. The numbers climbed quickly, shares happening faster than the stream could update. "Yo, this doesn't look right. Why are they on him like that? Is he even resisting?" Comments moved faster. Questions turned into reactions. Reactions turned into anger. Back on the road, Marcus stayed still, not because he had no choice, but because he knew exactly what this moment was becoming. "License," the officer demanded. "It's in the car," Marcus replied. The officer turned, already irritated. "Of course it is," he muttered. Another search. Another unnecessary escalation. The radio crackled again, but this time the tone was different. "Kinit, confirmed situation." "You are being flagged?" The officer paused. "Flagged for what?" he asked. No immediate answer, just static. Then another voice came through, more urgent. "Your stop is being broadcast. Repeat, your stop is live." A shift, small but real. The officer standing over Marcus looked around instinctively, like the camera might suddenly appear in front of him. "Who's recording?" he demanded. Marcus didn't move. "You tell me," he said calmly. The second officer turned toward the car, spotting the phone on the dashboard. "Hey, there's a phone," he said. He moved toward it quickly, reaching inside. "Don't touch it," Marcus said, still calm, still flat. The officer hesitated for a fraction of a second, because now, this wasn't just a stop, it was evidence. The radio crackled again, louder this time. "Stand down. Do not interfere with recording device." Silence hit the scene like a pause button. The first officer slowly lifted his knee from Marcus's back. The pressure eased. The second officer stepped back from the car. Everything slowed down, because now they were being watched. Not by one person, not by a supervisor, by everyone. Marcus pushed himself up slowly, sitting first, then standing, his movements still controlled, still deliberate. His clothes had dust on them, his hands slightly scraped, but his expression hadn't changed. Calm, focused, present. "Why was I stopped?" he asked. This time, the question stayed in the air. No quick answer, no confident tone, just hesitation. "You matched a description," the officer said finally, but the words didn't carry the same weight anymore. Marcus nodded once. "Which one?" he asked. The officer didn't respond, because now the question wasn't just between them. It was being heard everywhere. Marcus walked to his car slowly and reached inside, picking up the phone. The screen lit his face for a second. Thousands of viewers, comments flooding, the truth already moving beyond that street. He turned the camera slightly toward himself, then toward the officers. "No resistance," he said calmly. No cause. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't accuse. He just stated what was already visible. The officers stood there, unsure now, their earlier control replaced with something else. Awareness and pressure. "Sir, you're free to go," one of them said. Marcus looked at him. "I was always free to go," he replied. The line landed heavier than anything else, because it was true. He placed the phone back on the dashboard, but didn't end the stream. Not yet. He wanted the moment to finish completely. Marcus got into the car, started the engine, and looked once more at the officers through the windshield. No anger, no satisfaction, just clarity. Then he drove off. The lights faded behind him, but the moment didn't, because online, it was just getting started. Within hours, the video was everywhere. Clips cut, reposted, slowed down, analyzed. News channels picked it up, headlines forming before full context even arrived. Unjustified stop goes viral. Police conduct under question. Millions react to late-night traffic incidents. Marcus didn't chase it. He didn't comment immediately. He let it move, because truth didn't need help spreading. The next day, his phone was filled with calls. Unknown numbers, media requests, legal inquiries. He ignored most of them, until one call mattered. "Internal Review Board," the voice said. "We need to speak with you." Marcus answered simply. "I know," he said, because this was always the next step. And this time, it wasn't just his word against theirs. It was everything, recorded, seen, and impossible to ignore. Marcus ended the call and placed the phone down slowly, but his eyes stayed on the screen for a few extra seconds, watching the last of the notifications stack up. The video was no longer gesticulating. It had taken over timelines, feeds, conversations. Every angle of it was being replayed, slowed down, zoomed in, analyzed, frame by frame. People weren't just watching anymore, they were questioning. By the time he arrived at the review building, the atmosphere had already changed. The usual calm, controlled environment felt tighter, heavier, like everyone inside knew this wasn't a routine meeting. A few people glanced at him as he walked in, some recognizing him instantly, others just aware that something serious was unfolding. He didn't stop, didn't acknowledge the looks. He walked straight to the conference room. Inside, the setup was already ready. A large screen, on multiple chairs filled, officials seated with files open in front of them. Some faces were neutral, others slightly tense, but all of them were focused. "Mr. Reed," one of them said as Marcus entered, "thank you for coming." Marcus gave a small nod and took his seat. The door closed behind him. No small talk, no delay. "Let's begin," another official said. The screen lit up. The video started playing. Not the edited version. Not the viral clips. The full footage. From the moment the lights appeared in the rearview mirror to the second he drove away. Every command, every movement, every pause. The room stayed silent while it played. No interruptions, no explanations, just observation. When it ended, the silence didn't break immediately. It stayed there, hanging, because everyone in that room understood exactly what they had just seen. One official leaned forward slightly. "From your perspective," he said carefully, "what triggered this escalation?" Marcus looked at him for a second. "Assumption?" he replied. No long explanation, no complicated wording, just one word. The official nodded slowly, like he expected that answer but still needed to hear it out loud. "Do you believe protocol was followed?" another asked. Marcus shook his head slightly. "Protocol requires verification," he said. There was none. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't push, because he didn't need to. The footage had already said everything. Another official cleared his throat. "You chose to continue recording," he said. "Was that intentional?" Marcus leaned back slightly. "It always is," he replied. A few people exchanged glances. "Why?" the same official asked. Marcus took a small breath before answering. "Because moments like that don't get believed unless they're seen," he said. That line settled into the room. Heavy, honest, true. The meeting went on, questions getting more detailed, more specific, breaking down seconds, decisions, actions. Marcus answered each one the same way he handled everything else, calm/direct, clear. When it was over, no final decision was announced right there. That wasn't how the process worked, but the direction was obvious. Something had to change, and everyone in that room knew it. Marcus stepped out of the building and into the afternoon light. The air felt different again, not lighter, not heavier, just different, like the moment had moved forward, but not ended. His phone buzzed again. He checked it briefly. Messages from people he didn't know. Support, questions. stories from others who had experienced something similar. He scrolled for a second, then locked the screen. Because this wasn't about attention. It was about impact. That evening, Marcus drove again. Same city, same roads, same patterns. But this time, something else was present. Awareness. Not just his, everyone's. A few miles down, he saw flashing lights again. Another stop, another car pulled over. Marcus slowed slightly as he passed, his eyes scanning the scene quickly. The officer stood at a distance this time. No aggressive posture. No immediate escalation. Just conversation. Marcus kept driving. But he noticed, because even a small shift meant something. The next few days confirmed it. The department released an official statement. Not defensive, not dismissive, careful, control, acknowledging concerns, announcing a full review, promising updated procedures. Media covered it, debates started. But beyond all of that, internal changes began. Body cam reviews became stricter. Stops required clearer justification. Supervisors started paying closer attention. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't instant, but it was movement, real movement. Marcus didn't celebrate it, he didn't post about it, he just kept doing what he had always done, observing, recording, holding the line. One night he parked near a quiet street, engine off, just sitting for a moment. The city hummed in the distance, distant sirens blending into the background noise. He thought about the moment on the road, the pressure, the silence, the shift, and then what came after. He realized something simple. The moment itself wasn't the most powerful part. It was what came after that mattered. Because exposure creates awareness, but consistency creates change. Marcus started the engine again and pulled back onto the road. Cars passed, lights shifted, the city kept moving, and so did he, because he understood now more than ever that change doesn't happen in one moment. It happens when that moment refuses to be ignored.